Welcome to the ARTE Generali Talks. My name is Mellinghoff. I'm from ARTE Generali. And today I speak with Olivier Berger from Wondeur AI. Olivier is founder of Wondeur. This is a startup company which provides cutting-edge market intelligence. In short words, this technology is able to explain and flag changes in art values. I think this is something outstanding. Olivier, before you give us more insights about this technology, I would be happy when you introduce yourself. Who are you? Where are you located? When have you founded Wondeur? And what makes the approach of Wondeur so unique for the art business?
Yes, Leonie, thank you very much. So my background is in engineering and finance. I've been working in AI for more than 10 years now. And before in the financial industry, background is really coming from a collector's family, a family that has been collecting art and loving art for quite some time and for quite a few generations now. And a couple of years ago, I had the chance to meet my co-founder, Sophie Percival. We met in Toronto, Canada, which is also the birthplace of deep learning, which is what triggered the revolution around AI across the world. And it was actually invented or created at the University of Toronto in Canada. We created Wondeur about 3 years ago in Toronto. Now we're based also in New York and in Paris. We're a team of senior researchers from MIT, from the University of Toronto, and a couple of other universities across Europe who have a deep passion for understanding, how art market values change over time and what triggers those change. And when we started, what we found out is most existing technologies have tried to look at auction information in order to understand the market. But it didn't make sense for us because only 1% of artists across the world have sufficient information, sufficient number of transactions in that market to be able to do just trend analysis. So understanding why value change across the market, you need to look at something different. And actually the truth has been known for quite some time by art experts, art appraiser, art advisor. And the fact is that artists go through a network of about 28,000 museums and galleries. And every of those museums and galleries do have an influence on the recognition of the artist and the price. And so it's a journey that started there. And now we developed a full suite of products for the insurance industry and the wealth management industry to really empower people, experts and non-experts, to understand risk on value, to predict the future risk on value, and give much more breadth of intelligence around buying, selling, and insuring art.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, very interesting. As you said, you have developed this algorithm to determine the developments of the contemporary artist. But since the art market has been heavily relying on auction results, and still relying very much on auction results, how do you determine the causes of an artist's career's development? Can you give us a little bit more examples to understand it better, and also the factors that impact the price of their artwork over time? So what is so special about this algorithm to better understand it?
Yeah, and often you will see people, a good example is when you go to a museum. Mm-hmm. And we all have had this experience where you're facing an artwork, which is a simple white canvas and with a black dot. And a lot of people might say, I could do it, my kids could have done it. And I don't understand why this piece has such value and sitting in such a museum. Actually, the truth is that the value is not in the physical aspect of the work necessarily, but mostly into who has been creating the work. Before this artist was collected in that museum, he or she had to go through a series of vetting process, going through hundreds of museums and galleries, each selecting the work of the artist and appreciating it. Actually, this flow that artist has to go through, system of vetting process throughout those 28 museums and galleries, do have an impact on prices. And it's easy to understand. Museums were created initially to select works of art for future generation. So in a nutshell, they do define value at the end of the day. And throughout the last 80, 90 years, a network of smaller museums and galleries have been created around those museums. And each of them have had, across the last 80 years, a different impact on the recognition of the artist and the value. So what Wondeur does is it looks at auction for sure, but it looks as well, and a lot of it, around the dynamic of this network and how those museums and galleries are interdependent, impact each other, and impact the career and the value of the artist across time. And again, it's not something that has been invented by us. It's something that art experts knows, that have been doing all along to set a price or to check on prices. What we've done is we've scaled it on a global basis, covering about 95% of artists born after 1900, whether they were active on auction or not active on auctions. So it goes from, emerging artists to star artists all the way through on a global basis. In a nutshell, Leonie, is we're looking at the same signals before a price is created that an art expert will look at. We just scale it, and the AI is really like a super expert, not replacing it. We're going to talk about that, I hope, later on, but really helping to compare all artists against each other and understanding the impact of every individual and every influencer in that market.
Yeah, wow. Really groundbreaking, I would say. And we from ARTE Generali, we are very happy that we have started a cooperation with you, with Wondeur. In this cooperation, we provide art owners and art-related service providers access to this art market intelligence through our insurance products. From your perspective, where do you see the added value for collectors, for brokers, or art market players?
Yeah, I think the Generali team was very bold, and initially the solution was tailored for the underwriting team and the expert team at ARTE Generali. And what we saw both on Wondeur's side and ARTE Generali's side is an opportunity to bring this knowledge to the broker and to the collectors, something that's not been done before, in order to empower collectors to better understand the reason why the value of their work is at that level. Because what the art market is suffering the most is not about transparency. Transparency is not the problem. It's explainability. Why an artwork is at this level instead of another, why this beautiful work that I love has no value, and why this work that I do not resonate with has such a tremendous value. And bringing explainability around this to the collector and to the broker, as well as to ARTE Generali, is a way to empower everyone in the art ecosystem. As you can guess, as a next step, we envision also to give a portion of that technology to artists, as we're doing right now with museums. Not to monetize, but as a way to help artists to strategize their career, and museum to manage their collections and their strategy work around creation and biases. And we can talk about it too.
Yeah, and I mean, as we all know, AI is, constantly evolving or developing.
Yeah.
So I guess you are already working on next developments. You are working with Wondeur. How do you see this technology development in the future, and what are the next steps you are working on at Wondeur?
Yeah. So the framework of development of this technology is really around empowerment of experts and non-experts. That means people who love art but have difficulty to understand how it works. So this empowerment aspect is not about replacing an art expert. An art expert will not be replaceable, but it can be scaled up. And for the non-expert, the collectors or the early collectors, it's a way to give enough information to bring confidence into their own collections or into buying emerging or established artists or star artists. In terms of new technology that we're launching soon is one that is very much talked about is we've been analyzing NFTs for 8 months now. We understand how value is created. We understand the dynamic of this market pretty well. It's a market that is changing very fast, so we're following on a daily basis. But what we think is necessary is if NFTs are here to stay, which seems to be the case, if nothing is done, a lot of money will be lost. And so it's very important that very quickly collectors or people interested in art and NFTs be quickly empowered into understanding what is the risk on the value of this new asset class, and what does that mean in terms of taking the risk of buying and selling. The big field also we've been working on is around bias. Very quickly at the early stage of our research, it was very clear in our data that being a woman artist or being an African-American artist or a so-called minority artist did have an impact on the trajectory of an artist and his or her ability to grow, and also on the value put on her work of art. And so we spent a lot of money understanding the bias, the impact on bias, where the bias is coming from, and what does it mean in terms of for the markets and market dynamics. So it's something we're going to be launching soon. We've launched it first with museums to have them address the issue of bias, but we want to bring that information to collectors very soon. The other field is around understanding mispricing. It's something we've been doing for professionals, and we want to, through ARTE Generali, really give access to this information, helping collectors understand the mispricing issue that exists on the auction market, the mispricing issue that exists on the dealer market, to power the decision and make an informed decision to buy it or not, based on this clarity around what's going on. There's a lot of bubbles in the art market. It needs to be understood so that it brings transparency and confidence for everyone. And the last element is our indices. Current indices exist in the art market. They're not applicable to people like you and me because they're really focused on a tiny portion of the art market that is selling for multi-million dollars. So what was needed is our indices that really power decision-making, understanding the changing demand in the art market, something that we've been working now for 12 months with great partners in the US in the wealth management side, and we're going to be launching soon.
Mm-hmm. Great. Many, great projects. Great. Thank you very much, Olivier, for this very interesting insights. It was a great ARTE talk. And thank you very much for your time, and all the best for the next steps with Wondeur.
Thank you.